Russell Wilson was in New York this week meeting with, drumroll please, the New York Giants. Yes, we don't know. They're calling it an exploratory meeting. And now Russell Wilson this morning spotted at the airport by the Athletics' Diana Rossini, who will be joining us shortly. Diana says Russell Wilson's on his way to Pittsburgh today. Russell Wilson headed to Pittsburgh to meet with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Now, we don't know who is recruiting who at this point. We'll get to that shortly. But it's funny, you know, Russ has been through a lot here in the last 3 years. It's been a little topsy-turvy, and I saw a funny quote recently. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And let's be real, this is a crisis for Russell Wilson, who it seems like, folks, is kind of trying to get recruited to play for teams. We don't even know if he's a definite starter anywhere. We think he probably will be. But Russ has been through some turmoil the last few years. And I do want to be clear at the top, I'm not a Russell Wilson hater. Okay, I've defended him many times, and not just because people tell me I look like him in the right lighting. Okay, I like Russell Wilson. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's been to 2 Hall of Fames, and I also need to add he has as many playoff wins, I believe, as Dan Marino, and more than several other pretty impressive quarterbacks. Like in the playoffs, Russell Wilson has been good. However, in recent years, he's been on the struggle bus. And let's remember, Seattle kicked him to the curb. Thanks, but no thanks. Thank you for your service. Adios. And they kind of booted him. And he goes to Denver. And his first year with Nathaniel Hackett was forgettable, to say the least. They fire Hackett. Sean Payton. Oh, sure, I'll come work with Russell Wilson in Denver. They didn't get to the end of the season before Sean Payton and Denver realized, yeah, this isn't going to work. Not at this salary. You're not the same quarterback you used to be. So he's now been basically booted. And this week he's kind of been, listen, I don't want to be too harsh, but he's been laughed at as being, you know, part of the worst trade in NFL history. I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. We'll break that down another day. But let's be clear. This is a crisis for Russell Wilson. It reminded me of that scene in Moneyball. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Brad Pitt, who plays the character of Billy Bean, he's talking to David Justice. And David Justice is just basically giving him the business like, yeah, you guys are paying me a lot of money. And Brad Pitt goes, we're not paying you a lot of money. The New York Yankees are paying half your salary to play against them. That's what they think of you. And folks, around the league, like Denver's paying Russell Wilson in the neighborhood of $37 million not to play for them. And so, yeah, is he attractive to Pittsburgh on the cheap? Sure. But I do have to wonder, is this a good fit for Russell Wilson? Now, Colin and I pushed back on this, I believe it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. I don't know culturally that Russ fits there, okay? He had some issues in the locker room in Seattle, and now he's going to another defensive-heavy team in Pittsburgh. You know how that worked out with him in Seattle. The Legion of Boot, they didn't like him. They did not get along. They didn't like how Russ got all the accolades. You think Minka and TJ Watt and that impressive defense is really going to love if Russell comes in and wins some games? Pittsburgh won 10 games last year with a poo-poo platter of Trubisky and, Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. Maybe Russ is an upgrade from them, sure, but I don't know that he's a great fit. We had Peter Schrager on the show this week talking about Russ as a potential fit in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is committed to Kenny Pickett. I could tell you that. I've heard from many sources around the league, and a source inside that building. They like Pickett. They took him in the first round, and they think Pickett's got a future. But for $1.2 million, and Denver is paying the load on all of the rest, yeah, take a meeting with Russell Wilson. Yeah, see what he's about. And if he mixes with Tomlin and he meshes with Arthur Smith, I think it's certainly a fit that makes sense when you look at the 32 seats at quarterback around the league.
Yeah, and he made a good point about Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith rehabbed Ryan Tannehill and turned him into a productive quarterback for a minute or two. And sure, Russ could, be reinvigorated, but I don't know if it's a great fit for him there. And at the top of next hour, I'll break down what I believe are my 5 best fits for Russell Wilson. And I'll tell you this, Pittsburgh in a division with the reigning MVP, the reigning #1 seed in Baltimore, in a division with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, who, oh, by the way, went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And then you got Kevin Stefanski and the Coach of the Year in the Cleveland Browns. And I think Deshaun Watson, despite some struggles, he's still better than Russell Wilson. Like, how can Pittsburgh be at the top of his list? But I think that kind of sort of speaks to the desperation of Russell Wilson. Now let's move to the NBA and last night's incredible, unbelievable game between the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. It was a finals preview. And folks, I'll take 7 of those, please. Thank you, in June. What a game. Jayson Tatum on the struggle bus. And I know the calendar says, March 8th today? Yeah, March 8th. But it's also known as Kill Jayson Tatum Day, because anyone, podcast you turn on, radio, TV, you go on social media, Jayson Tatum's not clutch. Jayson Tatum's a choke artist. Did you see the shot against Cleveland this week? And folks, we can do this in the NFL when there's 17 games, okay? We can do that. It doesn't apply to the NBA. Like, you see Tatum here down 2, had an open 3, and he missed it. He had 5 turnovers and 5 baskets. Like, that doesn't cut it for a first-team All-NBA guy. I love Tatum. I'm here to remind you, he is a clutch basketball player. How soon we forget, America. 2 years ago, Celtics on their way to the finals, Game 6, win or go home against the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee and Giannis. And Tatum goes for 46 points. I remember because my son had a club basketball game, and we're driving home from the tournament. I have the game on in the car with my son and his buddy in the back seat, and Tatum is going off. Now, I'm not watching because we're in traffic out here in L.A., but they're listening to Jayson Tatum beating Giannis. He scored 46 points in Game 6, and they win the series in Game 7. Last year in the playoffs, surely you remember, Jayson telling everybody, the Sixers are not good. The Celtics will get them. And, of course, Sixers are up 3-2 in Game 6. Jayson Tatum, 1 for 14. He started 1 for 14. Right? We go to the fourth quarter. What happens? Jayson Tatum goes off. Jayson Tatum scores, I believe, 16 points in the fourth quarter on the road. Celtics win. And then Game 7. Does it get much more clutch than that? You know, you can tell me all you want about a clutch NBA game in March. I'll tell you, Game 7, last year, Jayson Tatum, 51 points against Joel Embiid, who was, that's right, he was the MVP of the league. Yes. And Tatum went off in a clutch performance, and the Celtics advance. So don't tell me this Jayson Tatum isn't clutch nonsense, because he had a rough week in the fourth quarter. Whoop-de-damn-do. It's March, okay? Come back and check with me in June when the Celtics are in the finals. Now, the real problem Boston has, if you watch that game, they ain't got no answer for Nikola Jokic, who is the best player in the league. I know I've been saying Luka, and Luka's on a heater. 4 straight triple-doubles, 30-plus points. But you saw it down the stretch. They have no answer for Jokic. They tried Drew Holiday, who's an amazing guard. He really locked up Jamal Murray last night. Tried Drew Holiday on Jokic. They're throwing the kitchen sink at him, and it didn't work. Jokic, when it mattered most, goes right at Porzingis and gets a bucket. And if you guys notice, I don't want to pick on Porzingis. Like, he was all right, but the legs were not there. Here's the bucket if you're watching on FS1. He just went right at him. Porzingis, 9 of 23 shooting. Yeah, that's going to happen when you got to mark up Jokic in the paint. And then, of course, Jokic flips this crazy, like, just tossing hook that Aaron Gordon catches and dunks, and Aaron Gordon just dunks everything. Jokic is not a great matchup for the Celtics, but he's not a great matchup for the league. Anthony Davis has no chance against Jokic. We saw that in the series. There is currently no answer for Jokic, and I don't think it's too hot of a take. I love Shaq in his prime. I watched plenty of Shaq and Kobe. I watched Shaq in Orlando. Jokic is a modern Shaq, except with triple doubles and 3-pointers. Like, he does it all, and you can't stop him right now. And he makes it look effortless. I'm not going to get into that tirade about him being the face of the league. And, like, I'm sure you guys remember Mike Trout of the Angels was like the face of baseball for a while. Just was kind of anonymous. He could walk into your local TGI Fridays. You might not know it was Mike Trout. Jokic, he's a humble superstar. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. I think he has 1 commercial. He's out as soon as the season ends to go ride horses in Serbia. But damn, that guy's good at basketball. I will say this. You can duplicate what Boston has, and I think they're onto something. I've been workshopping a take about how the entire league's going to look like the Celtics here in three years. Everybody wants what they have, which is 1 million 3-point shooters, switchability, pace and space. They're the perfect basketball team right now. Problem is, they're facing the perfect basketball player in Jokic, and they don't really have an answer. You could duplicate what Boston has, right? You can find, Holiday and Porzingis and these shooters and Peyton Pritchard. You can find those guys. You can't find a Jokic. They're just no duplicating him. And what he was doing down the stretch against Boston has me nervous. I'm still reluctantly taking Boston to win the finals. I'll hang my hat on this. They will have home court advantage almost certainly in the playoffs. I think they're up by 5 or 6 games for home court advantage. And I'm of the belief that Denver, which does struggle a little bit on the road, they did sweep Boston this year 2-0. Yes, they did. But I think the Celtics get them in the finals. I wouldn't put too much stock in Jayson Tatum struggling last night. Hell, I struggled in my men's league playoff game last night. I'm not Jayson Tatum, obviously, but I digress. Alex Curry, we have a bomb show today. I'm so fired up. Despite the Celtics loss.
You've already brought up your men's league, and we're not even, 15 minutes into the show?
I think on the bingo card, Jason's men's
there
league.
It goes. He's talking about his men's league.
Alex vacationing, right?
But, we're coming off it felt like a finals preview last night. It was fire right out of the gates, down to the wire. If we could get that, having a regular season game like that is anything you could wish for and more. That was...
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.